Namaste, everybody. Good morning. And I am Yashaswini Bharadwaj. Today, we will be discussing about the Ayurvedic perspective of looking at the autoimmune disease of thyroid, which is very common among women. And so, we'll look at it from women's health point of view. So, let me give you a general example. So, this is how it can go. Say we'll be meeting a woman probably in her 30s who is lean, thinly built, managing her everyday works. There will be a little bit of aches and pains and so on and so forth. Nothing major of a health problem. Could have had a pregnancy or not. But would come up with a menstrual problem, not happening. I mean, the flow is not all right, and it could be very scanty. And then you do the examination. You might find a bit of lump in the neck region, and then when you do the blood test, it turns up to be there will be thyroid antibodies or elevated results in the thyroid. Or it could be another type of presentation, a woman in her 20s, obese, and has gone through a lot of stressful childhood or has gone through a lot of health problems growing up, has taken a lot of antibiotics and hormonal therapies for maybe acne, or is on different type of medications, or was exposed to different type of medications. Has a history of allergies of maybe food or maybe other, is very obese, and then she also, when you test, would have thyroid antibodies positive, so it is an autoimmune condition you would find out. Or as a third example, I can say there is a woman in her 40s, early or late 40s, who is moderately built, is carrying tremendous amount of mental health issues. That is, there is stress and there is hypersensitivity. Absolutely nothing major in the body, but it's all mostly carrying in her mind. And then she comes up with a big lump on her neck, and then that is thyroid swelling. So you see, there are various type of presentations. It is not necessary to stick onto one template. But then most of the times you would see that there is a painless enlargement of the thyroid gland, which seems like an obscure swelling in the front of your neck. So this condition, which may have variable presentations, which may be evident or not evident, but can is definitely a disorder within itself, and that is what we are talking about today, and that is autoimmune thyroiditis. So basically, thyroid hormone is thyroid gland is a butterfly-shaped gland which is sitting in front of the neck on the so what we call as windpipe. Now this gland is supposed to produce what is called as the thyroid hormone, which has got a lot of important functions in the body. When this gland is attacked or is destroyed partially by our own immune system, the cells of our own body, and that is rendered useless, or the functions of this gland is being compromised because of nothing from outside, just our own immune system causing or finding it to be a problem and destroying the gland, then that compensatory or the resultant effect causes the gland to multiply the cells, because half of it is useless now. It is destroyed because of the immune system. So to compensate the production of hormones, now this gland has to increase in size, and that increase in size is what we recognize as the lump on the neck. So that is what the main problem is. So, as a result, there would be, as a result of this attack from the immune system, there will be destruction of the gland, the cells of the gland, and hence there is a reduced production of the thyroid hormone. And so, to push more production, there is increased stimulation from the pituitary, and that is why you would see increased TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone. And there would be increased antibodies as well in the body, thyroid antibodies. And then, because there is pressure on the gland to produce more, but there are no sufficient cells, it goes into a state of stress and inflammation, and also increasing in size. Now, to know what happens in the body or what is the impact on the body, we have to know what actually the thyroid hormone is doing. And a thyroid gland, or the importance of the thyroid gland or the hormone, is basically in the way it functions. So, the thyroid hormone is important for the metabolism. It is the most important thing that regulates the metabolism. And it also regulates the temperature. It helps in regulating the temperature because it is regulating the rate of metabolism and also the heart rate and the circulation within the body, and hence it is important for the maintenance of temperature. Also, it is important for the growth and development, right from the stage of zygote. So, thyroid is necessary for the growth and development of the fetus, and it is also important for the higher functions of the human being, as in the emotional and the cognitive functions, the maintenance of proper mood and proper alertness, proper cognitive functions, that is the intelligence and all of those brain activities, are also dependent on thyroid hormone. It is also important for the maintenance of the reproductive functions, both in male and female. Specifically in the women, it is important because it acts along with the hormone estrogen. So the ovarian hormones, the estrogen, progesterone, thyroid, they all act hand in hand, and they have got very complementary slots in the body. So where they have to sometimes act together, and sometimes it is when one hormone is acting, the other one inhibits, and the other one, when that becomes active, the third one has to retract. So they all have complementary role in the body. And so it is very, very important. Thyroid hormone is one of the essential things that regulate the menstrual cycle. The length, the flow, and the character of the menstruation is also decided by the thyroid hormone. So the maturation of an ovum, the proper timely release of the ovum into the fallopian tubes, and also maintenance of pregnancy, so that it is taken towards the term, and there is no early abortion or miscarriage, and also for the growth and development of the proper growth and development of the fetus. Thyroid hormone is essential. And hence, you can put it under the broad term and say for all of the reproductive functions, and specifically in the women, thyroid hormone is one of the most important things. And along with that, of course, it has got other things also. It is important for the muscles and bones and skin, and also the vision. And so there are a lot of places in the body where thyroid hormone is influencing the normal functioning, or is maintaining the normal functioning. And so, if you look at it from the Ayurvedic point of view, you would find out that all of the functions of the thyroid hormone mimics or coincides with what we call as the functions of Agni and Pitta. I'm not equating Agni and Pitta to thyroid directly. No, Agni and Pitta are a very broad umbrella. And thyroid functions would also fall under the functions of Agni and Pitta. So, All of these functions like the digestion, metabolism, or temperature regulation, vision, and emotional intelligence, as well as the regular analytical intelligence, the skin complexion, pigments and colors, and all of these, and also maintenance of psychological balance, would all come under the functions of pitta primarily. So, with all of these in the forefront, and thyroid acting along with estrogen together, which is also very much Agneya in nature, together makes a woman very much Agneya in character. So, irrespective of her prakriti, it doesn't matter even if whole of that woman describes the Kapha prakriti, she would still be an Agneya person, because between man and the woman, man is the one who tends towards being Saumya or cooler in nature, and so you can call men as cool, and women by nature they are Agneya, and that is why I don't know, which is probably so that the popular culture calls an attractive woman as hot. So there could be many reasons why autoimmune thyroiditis happen more in women, because there is a huge difference of its occurrence among men and women, and it is heavily partial towards women. So in general, autoimmunity is occurs in higher rate in women, not just about the thyroid. So women have the tendency of increased autoimmune activity. Women have the tendency of increased thyroid dysfunction, and both combined together, women have increased autoimmune thyroiditis. And the causes goes on. There are many hypotheses. None of them are to be concrete, but there are many hypotheses. All of them would be contributing. It includes the genetic, hereditary and genetic causes. It could be environmental causes. It could also be due to gut microbiome and alteration in that due to exposure to various treatment or substances. It could also be coexisting conditions, other health disorders, maybe due in the gut or maybe other way in the body, or deficiencies of iron or selenium, vitamin D, or increased exposure to iodine, and so on. And it could also be stress or emotional trauma related. All of these detailed causes aside, I would like to bring your attention to one important aspect, and that is the nature of women. Women by nature is sensitive, and she's got the composition of Agni, that is, of heat. And what happens when a sensitive person, or when a sensitivity is constantly triggered due to any other reason? Say if there is sensitive skin and you put some kind of irritant on it, what is the result? There is an allergy. You can see a red patch, or you call it as rash, and that is nothing but inflammation. So when sensitivity is irritated, when a sensitive person or area or substance is irritated, it produces inflammation. And inflammation is the activity of the immune system of the body. It is a reaction to an irritant, which could be internal or external. And internal, physical as well as psychological. So the complexity of the mechanism, which is displayed in the working of a woman's body, because there is a lot of interaction between the hormones and neuroendocrinal substances, and the physiology is very dynamic. It could be because of that complexity, and also because of the psychological sensitivity. Now you can again relate it with hormones or keep it independent, but the emotional part as well as the physical part. Both these areas are extremely dynamic as well as sensitive, and those together makes women very much susceptible for an increased defense mechanism uh, for any sort of irritation. Now, that increased defense mechanism sometimes gets misguided, and the target could become uh, a false target. So, this is why autoimmunity is in all of the autoimmune disorders are in higher rate in women, and the resultant mechanism also can be more effective or can cause more problems on specific female related systems, and that is primarily the reproductive system. We can safely put all of the causes aside. It is basically the pathology is basically the inflammation, which is related to heat, in a person who is sensitive and Agneya in nature, and hence it practically puts the person on fire. And you can remember the popular song, This Girl is on Fire, with that. And after this fire is extinguished, there is practically nothing or very much minimum that is left for functioning, and that is why it goes into a doused state.
Okay, what do you mean by doused state here?
Where it is the Pitta and Agni is practically non-functional or very minimal functional. We'll come to that in the next slide. As the result, we'll have many of the menstrual abnormalities, or it could be fertility issues and pregnancy complications in the same line. Basically, there is depleted Agni in all of the cases. So Agni is depleted. Depending upon the person to person, like the functioning or the prakriti or overall presentation circumstance, the other doshas can present in different permutation combination. And these permutation combination will decide what kind of specific feature we will have. Say, for example, in case of reduced Agni, and when there is ama as well as pitta involvement, abnormal pitta involvement, pitta along with ama, and reduced Agni. In that case, there could be menstrual abnormalities which you would see as irregular flow, sometimes which would be increased, sometimes it would be decreased, or there is proper regularity when the ama is reduced. It would be different, and when the ama is increased, it would present differently. So sama pitta altering the presentation. Or the other example could be when Agni is reduced, there is ama and there is increased pitta. And in these cases, you would also find associated features like there could be, acid peptic disorder, that like the reflux, esophagitis, or GERD, or there could be sudden increase of flow on the say third day or fourth day of periods, and there is it is fresh blood, and it sometimes goes to the point of being metrorrhagia as well for a longer prolonged period. So these type of abnormalities could happen, or it could also trigger miscarriage, or it could result in different type of fertility issues as well. And when Agni and Pitta are compromised, you're left with Kapha and Vata. So both of them can either increase or decrease. When Kapha is increased, you would see increased weight gain along with the reduction of the regular Pitta and Agni functions. Or when there is decreased Vata, there will also be reduced motivation to do any kind of activities. So there might be a natural spike wanting to do something, but really the body is not cooperative and the person doesn't feel like doing it. So mentally there could be a bit of initiation, but the body doesn't really go along. Or there could be general lethargy. There is no mental stimulation, there is no physical stimulation either. So doesn't fatigue very soon with less amount of work, and general lethargy, aches and pains in the body. So all of these would be the presentation depending upon how the other doshas are involved and what is the prakriti.
Okay. Sorry, this last situation that you described with general fatigue without stimulus for action and fast lethargy and aches, was that for Vata or was that for a different situation?
That would be either when vata is increased, there could be an internal initiation to do, but the body doesn't really come along. But when vata is also decreased, then there is a lethargy. Vata is decreased, and kapha could be increased, or kapha is moderate. But primarily, when vata is decreased, there is no initiation at all. There is plenty of laziness or lethargy, and there could also be aches and pains and a disturbance in the body,
Okay, thank
functional
you.
disturbance in the body. That is why it is not the uniform presentation all over. The three examples that I gave you initially, one who is medium built, one who is obese, the one who is lean and thin, all of these would present with different set of presentations. And the involvement of mind and the kind of trigger factor that they have, is it totally physiological, as in pregnancy or any other similar condition that has triggered it, or is it mostly from the mental stress, and how the mind, or how she is able to function or continue with her normal daily activities, would be one of the important things to consider when we are looking at these autoimmune thyroid problems, because it is not external, it is an internal factor. So when we look at it from the management point of view as well, the first and the foremost thing comes to understanding what is the trigger factor for her. Is it coming from the physiological factors or psychological factors? And either ways, you'll have to treat both. So you'll have to do some kind of immunomodulation. So Rasayana Chikitsa is important. Boosting Agni is very, very important, because in all of these cases, there would definitely be a compromise in the functions of Agni. So boosting Agni is important, and developing Sattva is important. So once once we are addressing all of these three broader headlines, then we can look into the finer symptomatic treatments or symptomatic management of balancing individual doshas. So, without going into individual symptoms, I would just like to wrap up with this one.
There is a question about some specific protocols for maintaining health, for supporting the body. Do you provide any specific recommendations? Because we stayed at the general part today, so the question is about specifics.
Specifically for the maintenance of what was the question? Maintaining health.
Yes, so specific, probably some preventive recommendations or something like that.
Yes. The most important is maintaining the mental cool. You see, it is by irritation. You have to remember that autoimmune or all of this is a result of the reaction to an irritant. So, like mind, like body. If you have a very sensitive mind, and having sensitivity is all right, But how do you process the sensitivity? Do you react to it, or do you subdue it, or do you find a way to uh, put it out? This is important. Now, if you are reacting, and every reaction is, you can equate that in body, it is inflammation. A reaction is an inflammation. So if your body is a reactive type, it is very much possible that it causes even micro inflammation in the body. If your body, if your physiology is of withholding type, then it can cause blocks. And unless you find out a when to put it out, either the reaction or this block would be causing problem. So the most important thing to prevent or to manage would be to find out a safer way to put out the things that you don't need. It could be emotion, it could be physical substance.
Okay. And do you give some practical recommendations, some specific actions, some specific substances maybe for these purposes in the course?
Yes, yeah, we would discuss that. It will be there in the course.
Okay. So when the patient is coming through the therapy of thyroid, what are the ways to support the immunity? What are Ayurvedic options for that?
Sorry, I had to switch off the mic. So that will depend on the person. Say, depending on the prakriti and what are the reasons for, what can be the possible causes. We have to build a story for what could have happened and why it led to this particular condition. And only when you understand or we have the root cause analysis, you can give a proper solution for it. So even if you want to build an immunomodulation program or Rasayana Chikitsa, or to improve or maintain anything, you have to know the details of the prakriti of the person, the Agni, and what are the conditions, what is the age, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of things to consider. It is both mental prakriti as well as the physical prakriti, because as I said, it is a lot to do with both mind and body, and it is about um, maintaining the sensitivity without having an adverse reaction. So it is about preserving the femininity, the essence of Agneya, essence of the woman, but not letting it cause an inflammation. So we'll have to know more about that. So, say for example, there's a question also on ashwagandha. So I'm quoting ashwagandha. Ashwagandha would probably suit most of the people, but then if at all there is ama and pitta involvement, there is increased pitta, there is hyperinflammatory process going on in the body, then I shouldn't recommend ashwagandha. So it is always dependent upon the present condition as well as the prakriti of the person. So there would be a lot of things to consider. And hence, that is the only reason why I am refraining from naming any specific medicine or substance. But other things among the practices, I would definitely say that practicing meditation and a bit of music therapy or any of these lifestyle therapies that you can adopt to reduce the stress as well as to reduce a reactive mechanism in the body. All of those things would definitely help. Some of those activities, if at all you need activation in the body, then go for the activities that will improve or bring lightness in the body, like could be dance or gardening or things like that, more creative things. If you need to tone down the reaction, then go for calming experiences. Could be painting, could be pottery, could be music, any of these things. So depending upon if you need initiation or you have to reduce the reaction, choose the activities based on that. And about the medicines or herbs per se, I would withhold because it is it is not right to straight away recommend something. And I think there are questions about the contents of the course, intensive course, as well as the online course, the comparison. In the online course, with that course and the one that we have in November, there would be a bit of overlap, and there would be a bit of individual difference as well. In the one that we'd have in November, we'd be going through the principles and understanding the pathologies from the principal point of view in detail. So in the online course, we mostly directly spoke about the disease condition, as in when we spoke about the fibroids, or when we spoke about even hormonal disturbance. We spoke about the specific individual features directly, which is one way of looking at it. And in the one that we'll have in November, they will be also looking at it from the foundational principle point of view, that is, understanding it from a very deeper perspective. So, irrespective of how it is going forward, you would still be able to map it. Are there any important ones to pick from there?
So, what can be the cause of nodules in thyroids?
Well, thyroid nodules, see, from the principal point of view, they are the inflamed, localized inflamed region which gets separated from the rest of it. So it becomes more like a follicular or cystic in nature. So it is the loss of homogeneity, and this will generally result in this is generally the result of excessive inflammation and segregation. So the outcome of this loss of homogeneity is, on the cellular level, it is much more serious, and because it shows that there is segregation within the body, and as an outcome, it can usually either produce hyperthyroid or hypothyroid, both the conditions. Both
And
are
what?
both these conditions are pathological.
Okay, but what could be possible causes of nodules?
Yeah, it is inflammation and localized segregation. So the evenness of the thyroid gland, when that is lost because of local or focal inflammation, and that part gets raised up and then forms a separate colony of itself, that is when there are nodules forming. So there is a focal inflammation and increased production of thyroid from that particular nodule. So the rest of the gland is not taking part in the inflammatory process. It is just one specific area of the gland that has taken up the taken up the activity of producing too much of thyroid hormone, and that area which is inflamed and is hyperactive, that gets a bit separated, and that is what you call as a thyroid nodule. So it is like a mole on the skin. So mole is the collection of melanocytes, or there is increased melanocytes in a particular small area of the skin, and that is why it becomes a mole. Sometimes it is raised in nature, so and it grows in size. There is extra production of melanocyte. So melanocytes or the melanin secretion happens in the skin. The same thing when happens, similar pathology when it happens in the thyroid gland. It is the thyroid cells that increase in size and produce too much of thyroid hormone, and that is a nodule.
Okay, the next question is, will you discuss the Graves' disease or hyperthyroidism in the course?
Well, we would be looking at all of the endocrines, generally endocrinal activity, both the hyper and hypocyte. So as I described now, we'll be looking at from the principal point of view. So just as we took the example of thyroid nodule, the pathology is as simple. It is similar to that of mole in the skin. It is similar to as of any cystic presentation in any other part of the body. So we'll be looking at it from the principal point of view and apply it to different circumstances and see how do you deal with that. So we may not directly address as Graves' disease because it is specifically looking into other women's health condition as well, but thyroid, we'll be discussing thyroid. And in the discussion part, we can definitely include more questions on Graves' disease if that is of particular interest.
Okay, next question is, will there be any information about papillomavirus in females?
We are actually not addressing that particular area directly. HPV or related disorders is not directly addressed in that particular course. But yeah, as I said, all of these things can be included in the discussion.
Maybe still you could give some examples of Ayurvedic medicines in the hyperfunction of thyroid hyperfunction.
See, in both the hyper and hypo, we would use Kanchanara. Kanchanara is the drug of choice for thyroid dysfunction. How you use Kanchanara or how would you combine it is more important. In case of hyperfunctions, you would combine it with more with the herbs, which will improve the production of Agni or which will stimulate the Agni. All of those things which will have Ushnavirya. So depending upon if the digestive functions are impaired or if the menstrual functions are impaired or if what other physical functions are impaired, or do you need cleansing of the channels, you would add Kanchanara with those things, depending upon the specific presentation. Even in case of hyper, you would add Kanchanara along with those things which will either regulate Pitta or cleanse Pitta or mitigate Pitta.
Okay, the next question. A teenage girl is growing intensively, and there are multiple skin stretches around the body. Could be the reason in the thyroid.
The growth, intensive growth could be related to thyroid, but I cannot say that it is a dysfunction yet, just with that much. The stretch marks definitely indicates that there is dryness of the skin, there is lack of plasticity in the skin, and that is why she will need more of treatment, local treatment on the skin, that is more abhyanga or application of oil or moisturizing agents, and that may be a bit of application of heat in the form of steam as well. So abhyanga and or oil massage and steam. That is what I would recommend in this condition, and it has to be followed regularly.
I think the person who asked about nodules in the thyroid envisioned the answer in a different way, like what specific factors could be the reason for nodules. So she did not understand the answer.
What specific factors can lead to nodules? Is that the question?
Because she repeated her question when after you answered it.
Well, why would anything go into a nodule and not a generalized inflammation is that is very hard to answer, because why will something take up a form of a cyst or a nodule or a generalized inflammation? That is more into the working of a cell. It is more into cell biology. Or rather, it might not just be that, it could be the general way of how the body is behaving. So that particular part of why something takes it the form of nodule only and not the general whole inflammation of the thyroid gland um, would be uh, would be a debate of principles and hypothesis. But if the question is more into why the thyroid nodule is causing a problem, or about the specific problems that could happen related to the nodule, that can be answered. But why there is a nodule and not the general inflammation, this would be a debate. But still, a nodule, it produces a spike of hyperthyroidism, no doubt. But it would generally, I would say, it would still be a good thing. I mean, just a small nodule producing or small nodule of abnormality, because it tells you that the intelligence of the body has successfully managed to localize the pathology instead of the whole of the gland getting inflamed and becoming a malignant goiter.
Okay, so any words you would like to say?
Well, to end, I would really, first of all, thank you, Alex, and thank you all for joining in. And I hope this was not an extensive discussion. It is a very short talk, and but still, I hope that there was something for you all to pick from this presentation. And I hope we can have a better discussion either during November or sometime in future as well. I would invite you all to join in the course or come and catch up during this visit in the month of November. So see you all then soon. Namaste.
Okay, thank you very much. Namaste.